All right, so first, can you guys state your names and who you work for? Let's start with you.
Scott. I work for Refactor. I started Refactor with two other guys a couple of years ago, and we do Grails and Groovy development.
Okay, and
My name is Hamlet and I work for a company named Pearson. I'm also involved in some open source projects and been using Java and Groovy for quite a few years now.
okay. So what are you guys talking about today? It's kind of what we usually have at the Code Camp is one of the off-center talks. I personally like these types of talks, but this isn't your more mainstream type of things per se. So what is it?
So we're talking about metaprogramming in the Groovy language, and I talk about runtime metaprogramming, changing the behavior of an application at runtime based on runtime information that you don't have at compile time.
And I'm going to be talking more about some of the compile time metaprogramming techniques that are in the recent release of Groovy 1.6, as well as what's coming up on 1.7, which I'm helping to work on. It is an off-topic topic because it's a JVM-based language, and I think a lot of the other talks are on CLR or Firefox, open standards talks. So. But I think it shouldn't be, the metaprogramming talk really shouldn't be a fringe talk. This is something, metaprogramming has existed in Lisp for many years, in Scheme in many years, in C, and Boo and other CLR languages are using some of these techniques. Rails obviously is a huge one.
Well, what I meant by fringe is that this event usually you have more of the, what are you doing in XAML these days, or what's new in ASP.NET. So, but we do also have some talks usually that are just a little bit off the beaten path, so to speak. And with metaprogramming in specific, what is so advantageous about metaprogramming? What does it give you? What does it bring to the table for somebody who's a developer and has never even heard of the term?
Well, one of the big things for runtime metaprogramming is that you can do things at runtime that you didn't know about at compile time. One example, like Hamlet mentioned, is active record with Rails, or in Grails, the OR mapping layer. They create dynamic finder methods. So if you have a person object, you can say person.find by name, and that's not code that anybody wrote. It's figuring that out based on a regex basically of the name of the method, and then executing SQL for you against the person table.
Right.
I think with traditional languages, I think with Java traditionally.
Did you say static languages?
I think with a lot of the big enterprise languages,
okay.
you've seen a lot of code generation, and people have been using code generation for a long time. Whether you're generating bean bindings or you're generating scaffolding to talk to your database, and I think that's because the tools are lacking to do that at runtime, and maybe the spark wasn't there to start doing it. And Active Record really opened the door to say, we don't have to generate code at build time. We can just do this, interpret it at runtime, and create really nice APIs. And the object relational mapping story with metaprogramming is clearly the winner. It's a much nicer API to work with, and this is what sells frameworks like Rails and Rails, and it's enabled through metaprogramming.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.